Hello! Welcome to another Tasty Tuesday brought to you by the Family and Community Health Sciences Department at the Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Somerset County. Today we will be making a ceviche. We'll be making two kinds of ceviche. That looks like four, it's actually two. We're making two kinds of ceviche. We are making a typical fish ceviche. It's a little bit atypical though, and we'll talk about why. And we're also making a vegan-friendly version, which is featuring hearts of palm, one of my favorite vegetables. Not easy to come by, but it's a very good alternative for fish and other things. It's got quite a chewy texture. I think people use it as a substitute for cheese sometimes, so that's pretty cool. So we shall get started. Let's see who we have on today. It's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live, so I'm a little bit nervous. Not nervous, just feels unfamiliar. It's been such a long time. Okay, so I said we're making a sort of atypical ceviche, and the reason for that is because we will be cooking the fish, or the fish is already cooked. In a typical ceviche, the fish goes through a curing process using lime juice, lemon juice, some kind of acidic juice to cook the fish, curing the fish. For food safety reasons, we are not advertising that. We're not doing that. So what I did was I steamed the fish, and the fish I used was a Chilean sea bass. Although any white fish works, you can use tilapia, you can use flounder ceviches. I feel like are very good. I just happen to have a Chilean sea bass here, so that's what I'm using right now. This is about, let's see, this is about 120 ounces of sea bass, so it's not going to make a ton, but you'll see that the measurements in this recipe today are very scaled back just because I didn't want to make a ton. I'm going to be the only one eating it. So that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit atypical. Ceviche is, I guess a lot of people, the traditional ceviche comes from Peru, and it's served with such delicious local things. So if you're able to find these things, great. It'll make it more traditional and definitely packed with a lot more nutrients. The one that we're making today will be accompanied with Japanese sweet potato. Right, so it's like this. That's what it looks like. It's a little bit yellowy, and it's kind of like a magenta, like a dark magenta on the outside. We also have our regular sweet potato. I'm a fan of both. They have, they're both very high in vitamin A, so it's not that, I've heard that Japanese sweet potato has a little bit more nutrients than sweet potatoes. I'd have to check that before 100% confirming that. The texture is different. This one is a little bit grittier. So if you're not a fan of the texture, then you might just want to stick to the normal orange sweet potato, which is a little bit creamier in texture. But they're both great, both very high in vitamin A, and both have a lot of fiber in them. One of my favorite starches. So that is what our ceviche will be accompanied with. And a little bit of choclo. So this is, it looks like corn, which it is. It's definitely in the corn family. But you'll see the grains, or the little kernels, are massive. They are just so big. Let me see if I can take one off. They're very large. And sometimes folks will serve this toasted. I happen to boil this. I think it's pretty good boiled, and sometimes they'll serve it boiled with the kernels too. All right, so let's get started. So for our ceviche, it's essentially a recipe, Chilean sea bass. Yes, that is right. It's not cod. We are doing Chilean sea bass. Although cod does work. I've never done a ceviche with cod. Tilapia works. Tilapia is a little bit more conventional fish as well. So with ceviche, it's very easy. It's just about marinating the fish, right? Of course, if you cook the fish, you don't have to marinate it as long. Making the leche de tigre, which we'll talk about what that is, and then combining both the leche de tigre with your fish. So leche de tigre is one of the essential parts of ceviche. If you get the leche de tigre wrong, the ceviche is just not going to be right. They say that a good leche de tigre you should be able to serve on ice and be able to drink it. Like, that's how good it should be. So that's essentially what our marinade is. The leche de tigre that we have today will have some ginger. So I've got ginger that I'll put in the food processor. It has some celery, a clove of garlic. We've got here some ají amarillo, which this is yellow hot pepper. I'm not going to use all that much, but it is delicious. I've used it in other dishes and it's very flavorful. And if you're a big fan of spice, then it's also very good for that. And then we've got another kind of hot pepper, which this one's rocoto, right? So I won't be using these in very large quantities. This I opened almost 2 months ago, and I still have a lot just because it is quite hot. Even if you smell it, they're quite hot. Something that is not typically featured in leche de tigres is hearts of palm. I will be, for the purpose of our recipe today, I will be putting in the hearts of palm instead of putting in fish. Usually you put in a little bit of the fish of the raw fish into the leche de tigre. I won't be doing that. I'll be substituting it with hearts of palm. All right, so let's throw everything into the blender. Oh, and of course I've got some cilantro too, and you definitely want the stems here. They add a different complexity to the recipe. So not just the leaves, you want the leaves and the stems as well. Okay. I think I might actually take some of the leaves off just so it's not that much. So I'm going to take some of that off. My uncle is very skilled in making ceviches, so I asked him how he makes his, and he just had so many great tips to offer. He said that you'll want to put some of which I followed, some of which I didn't know. I was a little bit short on the time, and I didn't have some of the ingredients on hand. But especially when you are dealing with the red onion, which my eyes are a little bit red because I just chopped it and it is strong. With a red onion. So I'm going to do the stems first. I'm going to do the stems first, and I'm going to toss it in with the ginger to process a little bit, just because these two take a little bit of time. They say use minced ginger, but I'm not going to mince it just because that'll happen in the food processor. So let's toss that in there. So a tip with the, before I turn on the food processor, tip with the red onion, just to take some of the bite out because it is quite potent, it's quite strong, almost assaulting to the senses. You can put it in iced water and that'll help kind of lessen the effect on your eyes, your nose, your sinuses. To this, I will start adding everything else. So I've got some celery, and this is kind of eyeballing. I will put a recipe in the comments or somewhere on our Facebook page, so if you guys do want to follow along, you'll be able to do that. There she goes. Lemon juice. So one of the most important things, of course, is the lemon juice. Some people will use, just because obviously it's a marinade, you need some liquid in there. Right now we just have our stems and our ginger. I'm going to use some lime juice that I've squeezed. There it is. Lime juice works well. You can use lime, lemon. I use a combination of lime and lemon juice. Toss some of that in there. I'm going to do a very small amount of these because, like I said, I'm doing about 1/4 of the recipe that I found, just because I do not want to make a ton of ceviche because I don't think I'll be able to eat it in time before it goes bad. This is definitely the kind of thing that you don't want in your fridge for too long, especially if you're doing the raw version, which again is fine, but for food safety purposes, that is not what we are promoting. So I'm putting the tiniest amount in here, the tiniest amount, because I do not mess around like that with these kind of chilies. You gotta respect the hot peppers. Some people will add clam juice or some kind of fish stock to it. I'm not doing that just because I want to make the stock vegan, so I can have it for both the fish version and the vegan version. I'm gonna toss the garlic in. There it goes. A little bit more of the lemon juice. Processing away. I hope I'm not running out of time because I typically do that. Right. So I'll just scrape down the sides. It is still a little bit too textury. So I might get out the blender for this, just so we have a proper. I might switch over to the blender. You really do want to liquefy all of the ingredients in this. You want it to be a liquid as much as possible. You want it to be a liquid. Alright, so that's in there. While that is happening, I hope that everyone can hear. I already said that I steamed the fish. It took super fast amount of time. Fish is just one of those things that cooks so fast. I already have the vegan version done here. All I have to do is add the marinade and let it sit for a while. I cut up the hearts of palm, and you'll see it almost looks very similar to the fish, right? If I were to put these things into the fish, right? Some of the cilantro, along with some of the red onion. Tomato would be nice in this recipe. I don't have tomato on hand, so the ceviche does not have tomato, unfortunately. So we just give that a mix. I think we might have to switch over to the blender just because it's not the consistency that we want it to be. And it might be because of the hearts of palm. Like I said, that's a very fibrous, it's a very fibrous vegetable. It comes from trees, right? So it's the hearts of actual palms, and they're typically boiled, and you'll find them canned. So I think they have a little bit of ascorbic acid in them. Let's give this a taste. Oh, the taste is there. The taste is there, but the consistency is not. So we are going to switch to our mini blender, which I am hoping will be able to solve all of our problems. And like I said, I'm making a very, very small amount, so it could also just have to do with the fact that I do not have enough to blend. There we go. And what's also really great about this recipe is that it's just such a great thing to have over the summer because it's so fresh. You can have it with tortilla chips. You can have it as a side to like a bowl of rice. Actually, that sounds really good, like a ceviche bowl. Kind of like those green bowls that you see with like poke and that kind of thing. Why not do ceviche? I would eat that in a heartbeat. All right, take 2 with our magic bullet. Ha, not working. Is it plugged in? That is it. There we go. All right, now we're in business. So to serve this, oh yeah, magic is happening now. Perhaps a little bit too much. All right. So I'm just going to add a little bit more lemon juice to this just to kind of get it to that consistency that we want. I'll give this a good mix. Boom, boom, boom. And I will put this all over our fish. Again, if it's the texture isn't quite there, you can always strain this. I'm not too fussy when it comes to these kind of things. For a typical ceviche recipe, say you have like a pound of fish, you'll want to have like 15 limes, and that's part of the reason why I'm not doing that many, because I don't like store-bought lime or lemon juice, like the kind that they sell in the bottle. I'm not a big fan of that. And because I also didn't want to squeeze 15 limes and lemons, so here we are. I just did 4. I did a quarter of the recipe. So that's about it. If I let this sit for a while, and you can see the nice juice there, this will come out great. To serve, I would just serve it with a little bit of sweet potato on the side, like so, and some choclo. And these come off pretty easily. If you don't buy the whole version and boil it yourself, what you can do is in some Latin American supermarkets, which I got these, I got this and the rocoto. I got it from a great supermarket in Somerset County, which serves a lot of, or has a lot of Latin American products. You'll find lots of types of vegetables there too. It is called Aquí Market. It is in Bridgewater, right on Findern. So that is what I would do to serve. And it is ready to eat. Let's give it a try. It's so flavorful. You just got so many flavors in there. The ginger really adds something, the peppers, the cilantro. If you're not a big fan of cilantro, you can try parsley. It's not going to be the same, I won't lie, but it's pretty good. What's great about this too is you've got a nice balance of starches. You've got your nice carbohydrates, starchy carbohydrates from the corn, from the sweet potatoes. You've got protein, a very lean protein, your white fish, and you've also got some greens in there with your cilantro or parsley, whatever you choose, and other veggies like tomato if you include that. You've got the celery, red onion, and peppers. So I hope you guys try this. If you do, let us know how it goes, and let us know if you have any other recommendations for veggie ceviches. I'm always interested in those. So tune in for our next Facebook Live, which will be on Friday, and that will be with Jen. Thank you, take care, and have a good week.